This is a continuation from the previous two vids on getting an address and postal service, so there's no need for any introduction material. It's pretty much the same as the other two. So living on the road, waterways or off-grid in the UK, Dickie Dread. And we're on part 17 in the video series now, which is still chapter 2, getting an address, postal service and identification. So local council and support services. Some local councils and support organisations can help people who do not have a fixed address maintain contact with essential services. This support is most commonly available through homelessness services, outreach teams or community organisations. In certain circumstances, councils or charities may allow people to use a care of or contact address so that they can receive important correspondence or register for services such as healthcare, employment support or benefits. Organisations such as Citizens Advice, local homelessness charities and outreach groups can often explain what options are available in a particular area. They may also help people understand how to deal with official paperwork when they are living in vehicles or moving frequently. Support varies between councils and access to these services may depend on individual circumstances. However, if you are struggling to maintain an address for essential services, it is worth speaking to local advice organisations to see what assistance may be available. Local authorities and unofficial dwellings. Local authorities do not automatically recognise addresses on off-grid land, particularly where there is no planning permission for residential use. In many cases, councils will avoid formally acknowledging that someone is living on site, even when occupation is obvious. Recognising an address can imply acceptance of residential use. This is something authorities are often reluctant to do. This creates an ongoing tension between access to services and the risk of enforcement. On the one hand, people may need basic services such as waste collection, electoral registration or access to local systems. On the other, making a site more visible can draw attention to planning breaches or trigger further investigation. In practical terms, this can lead to inconsistent outcomes. Some sites may receive limited services informally, while others are refused entirely. Waste collection can be particularly difficult to arrange, and getting onto the electoral roll may require using an alternative address rather than the land itself. The key point is that visibility cuts both ways. The more a site is recognised with official systems, the greater the chance that its planning status will be scrutinised. Many people therefore take a cautious approach, balancing the need for services against the risk of enforcement. Local authorities and navigation authorities, such as those managing canals and waterways, do not generally assign residential addresses to boats unless they are recognised residential moorings, which limits how boat-based locations are treated within official systems. Now this is the one that I use. Collar the local postman. In some rural areas, it may be possible to establish a workable postal address, even if the land you are on does not already appear as a recognised address in the postal system. This usually involves working informally with a local postal delivery office. Whether you have permission to stay on land or not, one practical approach is to install a clearly marked weatherproof postbox at the entrance or roadsides. It's also helpful to speak directly with a local postal worker or delivery office and explain that you would like mail delivered there. Because Royal Mail addresses are tied to postcodes, you will normally need to use the postcode of a nearby property or location. Over time, once a consistent name is used for the location and mail begins to arrive regularly, the address may become recognised informally by local delivery staff. It can take a little persistence. Sending a few test letters to the location, ensuring the postbox is clearly labelled, can help establish the delivery pattern. However, it's important to understand that this type of arrangement is usually informal, does not necessarily create an official registered address within the National Address Database, and some organisations may still require a formally recognised residential address for certain services. Even so, in rural areas, this approach can provide a practical way to receive mail when living on land that does not already have recognised postal address. So that's exactly what I did. I basically put up a post box, collar the postman and the every people and any of them and say, can you please deliver here? And Yep, it started happening, and now not just does it happen, but we've actually got two boxes, one for the top of the field and one for my where I live, and they know the people there, they know me, so they deliver as if it's a completely official address. So it's well worth trying, especially in rural areas where the postmen are basically they're on your side. So some tips for official use. If you need to use an address for banking, legal or government purposes, it is important to check what type of address the organisation requires. Some institutions will accept a mailing address, while others insist on a residential address linked to your identity. It is therefore worth confirming the requirements before providing an address, particularly when dealing with banks, vehicle registration, insurance or government departments. Where possible, keep copies of any documents that connect you to the address you are using. These might include letters sent to that address, tenancy agreements, written permission from the householder, or other correspondence. Such documents can sometimes help demonstrate a connection to the address if proof is requested. It can also be useful to maintain at least one consistent contact address for official paperwork, even if you move around frequently. This helps ensure that the important letters reach you and reduces the risk of missing deadlines or official notices. So using land addresses for official identification. In some situations, a land-based address can be used for official purposes, but this depends on how it appears within recognised systems. If the land has an associated postcode and correspondence can be reliably delivered and accepted, it may be possible to use it for certain forms of identification or registration. Some organisations will accept an address if it functions in practice, even if its status is not entirely straightforward. However, these situations are the exception rather than the rule. Where land does not have planning permission for residential use, or where there is no registered dwelling, the address is often rejected. Many systems cross-check addresses against official property databases, and if the location is not listed as a residence, it may not be accepted for identification, licensing or financial services. Because of this, most people adopt a workaround. Even when living on land full-time, they continue to use a recognised address for official purposes. It's usually a friend or family member's address, or a mail forwarding service that provides a stable point of contact within the system. Of course, we've discussed all these in the previous videos. So it's not an ideal arrangement, but it reflects the reality that official identification systems are built around recognised residential addresses. Until a site is formally accepted as a dwelling, the land itself will often fall outside those systems. So an address is about far more than receiving post. It's one of the ways modern systems decide whether you officially exist. So people who live differently often find themselves navigating systems that were never designed for them. So how much freedom we really have to define our home ourselves. So next up, we're still in Chapter 2. It's the last part of Chapter 2, getting address to postal service and identification, and we will cover official identification.